Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much, Nadiya Shah, for giving me yet another amazing opportunity to be here with you guys and to present to you this upcoming full moon in the sign of Sagittarius taking place on the 11th of June 2025. Now, this year is a year of massive change. This is where we have an omega, so a moment of big ending and closure, but also a strong invitation to a new beginning. So the energies in between, even in the present moment, including the energies and the way this full moon in Sagittarius is going to display itself, these are some very, very big energies. And these feel like being caught up in changes, transformations, endings, beginnings, many times in very quick succession in many areas of our lives, and many times in not even a very rational, linear, logical way. They just come and go so the karmic energies, in other words, are very, very active. And we see this play out on the world stage in a big way, like no comment needed there, truly, but also in our individual lives in more than one way, because this energy has a very strong philosophical and inner knowledge um, backline to it, if I can use this term, because it really, really determines us to seek what is true for us individually in the deepest way possible. So not just superficially. The superficial, of course, is included because that is on the surface, that is the visible part of the iceberg, but we all know that it is the bottom part, the major part that matters the most. And with self-exploration, it's pretty much the same way. We know that the juice, the good part, the powerful part is buried deep within. And this plays out, as I said, collectively so visibly. All the conflicts, all the wars, all the contradictions in so very many ways. And let me just take this introduction opportunity to reflect the energies and the nature of Sagittarius, because it is the host sign of the full moon. It is the star of the show. So these wars, battles, dichotomies play out very visibly in the world of the law. Sagittarius rules the law, legal systems, international law, in all sides of it, the wide range of it, but also within countries, within groups, within nations. And there is a lot of legal activity, legal battles going on all around the world. Like the United States is a primary example for this. And to continue with the United States, another very relevant quality of the sign of Sagittarius, hence the full moon, is showing, even as we speak, well, universities. Sagittarius, along with its ruler Jupiter, is responsible for higher education, universities, higher octaves of our collective knowledge. You get so the universities actually have a lot of legal battles. So how on point, how truly, you know, directly the symbolism of the astrology is playing out in the world. And both Sagittarius and Jupiter are in the spotlight at this moment because Jupiter is the ruler of the full moon, being the ruler of Sagittarius, and Jupiter himself, a few moments just before the full moon in astrological terms, of course, entered the sign of Cancer, and that's a massive energy shift. That's a massive key moment for Jupiter and Jupiter's transit, but also it is also a very massive key moment from a totally different perspective, going back to 21st December 2020, when Jupiter and Saturn met in the sky at 0 degrees of Aquarius, opening a new paradigm of air for the next 20, but also 200 years, shifting from Earth. So that's a big deal. And that conjunction, their meeting, opened the cycle. Now we have a reality check moment. There's first the closing of their first square. So this is the third of three squares. But I do believe this is the most relevant one because this is where they square each other. Square is a tension, an aspect of maximum tension, which causes friction of energies. So many times it's associated with a type of reality check. Well, Jupiter is responsible with reality, what we believe to be our reality and what we know, what we aspire, our philosophies, our worldview, our belief systems. May it be in a more ritualistic way like religions, or totally free. All of that is very much Sagittarius, within the spectrum of Sagittarius. So that's why we are put in the face of answering some very, very tough and heavy philosophical questions, and questions of what we feel, what we believe, what we know, what we want to know, and also what we don't want to know, due to this third square, an opening square. So this is the reality check of what happened in our lives, especially in accordance to our higher principles, our life philosophies, our knowledge. This can take shape and form in a very practical sense. For example, university, our degrees, our studies, what we know, the knowledge that we accumulated, who were our teachers, also our sense of justice. Was there any legal activity in our lives? And also, Sagittarius rules the foreigner and anything foreign, so across borders, long distance travels, connections with other countries, relatives, or in any other circumstance, other countries, other nations, other cultures, travels for any reason, as I said, especially long distance travels, aviations, aviation, and generally speaking, just our knowledge, humanity's collective knowledge. And even in that sense, knowledge-wise, Sagittarius is the highest, the cosmos itself. The cosmos is knowledge towards we aspire. The arrow of Sagittarius, it is aiming for the stars literally. Okay, more technically, it's aiming for the heart of the Scorpion. So the previous signs, the sign of Scorpio here, because Scorpio, the Scorpion, the venom of it represents, well, all sides of knowledge. And knowledge does have a very dark side and burden. So Sagittarius makes sure that the Scorpion is not using its alchemy, its knowledge for the wrong purposes. I'm so sorry to say this, maybe not so much this day and age, because technology is used for not so nice purposes. Like, for example, drones killing living, breathing soldiers. That's so much Scorpio. Transformation, but also Scorpio rules passing, death, the not so nice, the grim, the stark reality many times, that which we really don't want to see. So we can see how the energies and the symbolism in the sky is connecting so well with one another. But going back to the opening square, all of these facts, basically, that we are made to be aware of, look at both the good and the not so nice. And the good, I mean, well, technology is leaping forward with quantum speed, the speed of light, literally. It's developing at an unbelievable pace. So we just see it every single day, growing, advancing, becoming stronger, more intelligent. Of course, the prime representative of this, an example everyone uses, and rightfully so, the artificial intelligence, the AI, a lot of things it can do. And we really have to give it credit because it can do what it can do so very well, and that is just going to get better. But this is also part of the picture that we are advancing very, very quickly. So we need to ask ourselves a lot of questions. We need to position our own belief systems and our own relationship with the divine, with the cosmos, in a religious way, maybe, or not, even in a totally non, let's say, spiritual way, pure philosophy, our own life force, if not anything else. How does that position itself in the grand scheme of things? In what we do have power over, how we feel about it, and how it correlates or not with our own worldview and aspirations. This incorporates so well the energy of both Sagittarius and Aquarius. Aquarius, exactly the future where we're heading towards. In traditional astrology, well, that Aquarius was the good spirit. So the inspiration, exactly in tarot, if anyone knows, it's the star card, the water bearer. The goddess pouring inspiration, emotion, all of the good stuff, divine essence, basically, into our higher minds. And Sagittarius, as I said, is aiming for the stars, the power, literally, of knowledge, because knowledge, it got us to the stars in real life. Like for example, iconic symbols, the Voyager satellites. And speaking about the square between Jupiter and Saturn, Jupiter at 0 degrees of Cancer, just freshly moved in, but also Saturn and Neptune at the first degrees of Aries. So this square, what do we believe or not, or what we once believed, because both Neptune and Saturn came from Pisces, the realm of both the realm of belief, but also the realm of the past, cosmology Sagittarius. So very recently, the James Webb Space Telescope made discoveries that, in a true sense, nullified the Big Bang scheme and theory, the boundaries of a lot of things that we almost took for granted fixed knowledge as a species. All of that was very recently challenged. And this is something I can just say right off the bat. We'll definitely be hearing news, further developments, further shocking revelations at the Sagittarius full moon about this, because full moon always has a very strong revelatory quality to it. It sheds light on something. And of course, it feels fated. And of course, it is the apogee of the lunar cycle. So it's a completion or termination, an ending, a wrap up many times. But we must not forget that it's not necessarily the event and not even the specifics of it that matter the most at a full moon. Okay, that comes, but how we feel, what it triggers, is that matters the most. So in this case, Sagittarius, it really triggers what we believe. Especially in my example, the cosmological discovery of how the Big Bang, the specifics of the Big Bang, that cannot be the way we thought originally due to those new discoveries. So we're going to be hearing news, further developments. Something will shake our belief system. Our collective beliefs. And this is actually something very scientific, very rooted in knowledge, academic, empirical knowledge. but also a lot of theory. And that's so very like a signature of Jupiter, but especially a few days before when it was still in the sign of Gemini. Gemini, the facts, the info, the raw data, processing it back and forth, true or false. You get what I'm saying. So the astrology is already playing out so beautifully. So a very long introduction here. Hence, I'm so very honored to be the one presenting you this very horoscope about the full moon. So, as I said earlier, a full moon is always the opposition of the sun and the moon. So the sun is illuminating this from the sign of Gemini. So Gemini is also the Gemini energy is also very, very active. And the ruler of Gemini, Mercury, um, it is also in the sign of Cancer and conjunct Jupiter. So they are really, really tied into one another. And Cancer, well, ultimately how we feel. Mercury information triggers how we feel. And Jupiter, well, we must say first of all that Jupiter loves being in the sign of Cancer. So that is a good part of the energy. In the sign of Cancer, the best way to envisage Jupiter's energy is the act of self-care, self-compassion in any circumstance, in any way, shape, and form, that usually does miracles, right? When compassion and understanding and love sparks up for the self, that is always a big game changer in any way, shape, and form. So that is what we can expect this coming 1.5 years, roughly 1.5 years, when Jupiter next summer will exit the sign of Cancer and move into the sign of Leo, but that's a totally different chapter. So as I was saying, a full moon, the light of the moon is what really matters, because what we see is what impacts us emotionally. And in this case, what we feel about, as I said, knowledge. So for a lot of people, especially in the most practical ways, this is going to be, well, what I do with my knowledge, with my maybe qualifications, with my studies. How do I integrate them into my future? Or maybe something happens and the situation changes and they need to decide what to do next. Decide can be quite a strong keyword in this at this full moon because of the Gemini energy. And Gemini is always like decisions, this option, that option, what do I choose, what would be better? But it can also be something legal, not necessarily in a conflictual or in a negative sense. Many things require legal procedure to get into place and running. For example, if someone wants to start their own company, first of all, they need to take care of papers and situations and stuff like that. So it's kind of important, the legal side of things. So for a lot of people, maybe it is going to be a revelation of how the legal status of one area of their lives or something like that looks like in the present moment and what options that gives them. However, since this is also a full moon and the completion, the harvest part of the lunar cycle, for some people it can be like if they had some kind of legal situation, legal case running, they hear news about it. Or maybe it's even a wrap up. Mercury in the sign of Cancer, well, it's a permanence, it's roots, what becomes part of your life. For other people, still, this can be international, like travels, affair, pilgrimages. As I said, we cannot ignore the spiritual and religious and philosophical nature of Aquarius, and very many times philosophy goes hand in hand with spirituality and ancient wisdom. So there's I would before I don't I would like to share my screen with you. So here we can see the chart, and this is the chart of the full moon in the sign of Aquarius. Let me just highlight this for you. So here we have the sun at 20 degrees of Gemini, and here we have the moon at 20 degrees of Sagittarius. So this is how the full moon looks like astrologically. So I was saying the Sagittarius part of our charts is going to activate, and the examples given earlier are, roughly the things that we can expect, but also with the ruler of the full moon Jupiter and the ruler of Gemini being in the sign of Cancer and holding, as I said, the square with Saturn and Neptune and freshly entered themselves into the sign of Aries. So the first breath, beginning, the alpha, the embryo stage of everything. Pisces is the spirit. Aries, the first breath when that spirit enters into reality for the first time. May that be as a thought, as a desire, as an inspiration, as a set of direction, let's say. It doesn't really matter. It's the first beginning, the first spark. Uh, so this is cardinal energy, and because Jupiter is in the 0 degrees of Cancer, it's whatever happens is definitely on the world stage, and due to Mercury, definitely hits news. Cancer is family, community, a nation, ethnicity. So anything that unites people and make them feel united, especially in Cancer rules like land, real estate. So if a land or a location unites them, especially. So a lot of people are going to be hearing news, communication, developments from family members, their home. Uh, would they want to relocate, or maybe something changes, the situation changes, new communication. This energy kind of favors decision where, like a reality check, especially people wanting to like upgrade their homes or make moves or anything around the home. It's a good time to reflect what is worth it and what is not. And Venus being very comfortable in the sign of Taurus and squaring Pluto, a reality check, what's possible and what's not, really helps this side of the energy. And speaking about Venus, Venus sextiles Mercury, and that is very, very helpful because it gives us a good sense of evaluating things. And as I said earlier, Cancer is family. A lot of communication, advice, help can come from family. But this energy also, due to the square with the Aries planets, Saturn and Neptune, it helps many individuals break away from family, tradition, Saturn, but also Jupiter in its own way, break away from family, the classic karma, patterns, anything. So breaking free from even, relocating, especially under a Sagittarius energy, making a choice, a decision, or prospecting what is possible. Do I relocate? Do I move abroad? What do I do with mobility and Sun in Gemini? Oh, that's also travel in its own way. Um, so this is really both in Mercury's case and Jupiter's case. This square is very, very important. So out there, collectively speaking, we are definitely, well, Jupiter, I want to say before I get into the exemplifying, that Jupiter rules law. What's right, what's not, what's righteous, what's not so much. And when Jupiter squares Saturn, what's moral and not, what Aries is sovereignty, anything that goes against sovereignty, limits sovereignty, Neptune, the illusion of sovereignty, for example. So this energy is definitely going to play out as my land, your land. What's true, what it's not true. And since Jupiter rules law, whatever is decided in a court of justice, it's going to be challenged. Saturn. Because both Saturn and Neptune are going to go retrograde in the autumn, and that's reevaluating. That's when the appeal takes place and comes up with answers. So whatever is like a court ruling, it doesn't matter if it's positive, good news, bad news in that sense, it might really not be final. So even individually, if this is the case for you at the time of this full moon, it even if it's good news, the best news is it's not final, or it may develop further this autumn. And the autumn also will also come with some, eclipses. Those are game changers, but that's again a different, totally different chapter that I'm not gonna go into. Um, so what's true and what is not? And now I want to go individually speaking, because this Jupiter and Saturn square may also want us to ask which one of our worldviews, our belief systems in any way, shape, and form, not just religiously, is suitable for our greatest good. That's the Cancer energy, the roots, our emotional comfort, where we thrive, our safety net. So this square makes sure that our goals, what we want to achieve, this can also be survival energy, Aries, don't really go against what's actually good for us. It will really, really make us think where our aspirations, where our philosophies, where our principles are taking us in life. It makes sure that we choose a good route, a safe path, something that actually works for us, not just, well, Neptune and Aries, the illusion that it works for us, because it can also be that. So this can be a very, very strong disillusioning energy. And with this, I would like to go into the first aspect that this full moon holds, and that is quite a rough energy. Let me just show it. So we have the North Node and the South Node and Pisces Virgo axis. And these are nodes of the moon, very, very tied into lunar energy. South Node, all that we need to eliminate. North Node, that which we need to progress towards. And the North Node matters in this case the most because it's in Pisces. Pisces is, for example, combined with this North Node, how to get from victim status to, for example, survival status, or even being empowered by whatever happened in the past. Pisces, again. That's a very, very big inner transformation. Or to make the dream not just be real, but the dream to work for you. Because Cancer is also what your upbringing, your personal past, the imprint that your family of origin, childhood, community, and everything in your life had on you, the psychological imprint that's also an integral part of your being, that's not gonna change or go anywhere. So again, the big dream, the big goals, your spirituality, your faith, your karmic path forward needs to be in accordance with, again, who you are in the Cancerian psycho-emotional sense. The South Node, of course, in Virgo everything that is holding you back and you do need to release. Judgments, fears, criticism, things in the past that let you down and did not work. Because in this new paradigm, especially, it's different. Things that did not work in the past might work in the present and future because we're living different times. As simple as that. So this T square, so better said mutable grand cross, if we can see these squares connecting here, well, it's a pretty tough energy. This requires reality check. This requires us to be, I think the best word to use here, very, very mature about where we allow our hopes, optimism, faith, principles to take us. For example, speaking about principles, Pluto in Aquarius is politics. And it is exactly Nadiya Shah who said a few horoscopes ago that we also, yeah, when Pluto went retrograde, that we can see now the shadow side, the dark side of Pluto and Aquarius. The dark side of politics and the world of politics is definitely part of that picture. So this full moon, how it ties into that? Well, if the politics no longer actually reflect in any way, shape, and form our individual aspirations, where we want to take society philosophically speaking, then time for a change or time to, because why? Our beliefs are really everything in life. They are the major creational force of our reality and which drives the shape karma will take. Karmic forces and anything in it. It will determine the shape and form, the specifics, the distinctive modus operandi of the cause and effect principle, how it plays out in our lives individually. So it's so very important. So now that we understand that this energy is best used when whatever life reflects to us about our beliefs or any symbolism of Sagittarius or any other planets involved, because at the full moon, it's not just the full moon itself. The sky is lit. So all of the sky matters. Even those aspects or those planets who would not be directly connected to the full moon. How the sky integrally looks like matters a lot. So exactly for this reason, where our hopes, faith, our beliefs take us matter very, very, very much. And this is like a gift moment from the universe for us to readjust. If we see anything that we do not like, do not agree with, or it feels wrong, because Cancer is very much feeling energy, Jupiter in Cancer. And on the other hand, Moon in Sagittarius is also very much feeling energy. Pisces is feeling energy. And well, Virgo itself is also has a feeling side to it, the gut feeling, because Virgo actually rules the bacteria in the gut, and that's like a second brain that has its own intelligence. And with the South Node there, we are inclined to use it if it can give a strong advantage with something in life. And now that we understand the energy of the Grand Cross, I would like to say a couple of words about the Sabian symbol for this full moon. So 20-21 degrees of Sagittarius, because I find it so fascinating. So the Sabian symbol says, a child and a dog wearing borrowed eyeglasses. At first glance, this may seem a little bit interesting, weird, but many of the Sabian symbols are. But if we look into its core symbol, we can find so very many correlations exactly with what's happening right now in our lives, both individually and collectively. We're navigating very, very uncharted waters. The future is here, we're living it, and no one's prepared for it. Just like the child and the dog who are imitating adults wearing eyeglasses. Eyeglass, of course, is a symbol of intellectual quality, exactly the professor adulthood. Because adulthood, amongst very many negatives, well, it comes with a few positives like knowledge, like higher understanding, if possible, of many things in life and cosmos and stuff like that. A child, well, it's more instinctual, it doesn't have the higher understanding. It still has its pure childlike faith, which is also one expression of Sagittarius energy. But they're imitating adults. They are using the eyeglasses and their beliefs in it that it will teach them something, make them wiser, and they play with it. So, what does this gesture tell us in a more philosophical manner? Well, on one hand, the benefits of copying the master. This is one certain knowledge that is handed down from generation to generation, and it never failed anyone. The value of that. So, the value of strong academic presence in any way, shape, and form. So this Sabian symbol can tell us that beliefs here and there, that which never ever failed us, is common sense rooted in permanence. That is something we can truly rely upon, and that will not fail us. So let it be amongst our options and choices. Now, the other expression of this energy is the playfulness. Fake it till you make it, really. Because, okay, the child and especially the dog don't have the, as I said, higher octaves of knowledge. Oh, but they have instinct. Remember the T square with the nodes of the moon, especially here, South Node and Virgo. They have the instinct. It can get them even further than classical knowledge, than an adult. But they have to fake it till they make it in order for that to happen. Another symbol of this full moon may be inspirational figures, especially teachers in real life, your teachers at school, or important people in your life, or big souls like authors who you never really met, but their work was a big part of your life. Issues or any kind of reflection around this may be part for the full moon in your life. And of course, for some people out there, this full moon may reflect that they're really good teachers. So maybe they will, hear the call of becoming a teacher, embracing teaching. They will find that they have a lot to share. And this ties in so well with the Gemini side of this. And also Pisces, Virgo, the T square, remember, side of this. Because it's also the dream, it's also the higher calling. Anything like that is also a channeling. Learning is channeling as well. It's not just something empirical. And it's also using skills and talents. So this full moon can be a very strong philosophical, inspirational wake-up call for it can activate a lot of feeling towards aspirations and let me do something with what I possess in energy. So that's knowledge, that's know-how, if I can teach other people, why not? So this can be a calling, but also the square, the calling, but it will need like a modus operandi, a plan, something that works, something practical, not just jump into it blindly. So the details, the Virgo side of it. Um, but it's not just this philosophical tension that is part of the full moon, because it also holds, so the moon in the sign of Sagittarius holds a trine, so an aspect of supreme harmony with Chiron in the sign of Aries, and then Mars in the sign of Leo. So this makes it a grand fire trine. And so much so that a full moon is the moon is very quick. So a few hours after the full moon, the moon itself will perfect the fire trine. So even though at the precise moment of the full moon, the trine is not at its strongest, it's still very, very strongly operational. Now, Chiron at this 26 degree of Aries is not alone. It is part of a conjunction where planetoid Eris conjuncts it. So Eris is goddess of discord, the rebellion, the possessor of the gold apple, as in Eris's myth. So a very strong, brute, rudimentary, primal truth quality to her. She is very, very primal. Chiron, especially in Aries, is the self wound. And collectively speaking, it's everywhere. But individually, I'm not getting into details because it's too sad and ugly. And this is something that does not make us all that proud of our species and what it could not accomplish, especially in philosophy. Peace, anything for peace, because we say it, but we don't do it. We don't really do it. But anyway, the self wound individually can take so very many shapes and forms depending on where this Aries falls in your personal chart, which house area. This self wound where we feel that we're not enough, or tying in with the symbol of Sagittarius, maybe we suffered some kind of discrimination, injustice, something prevented us in life to do something, be something, feel like someone, etc., etc. Now that energy strongly activates the light of the full moon, shines on this, it highlights it, and it's a trine, so it's soothing, or it's saying something. It's Mars, on the other hand, in the sign of Leo, comfortable, fiery, passionate. It loves being in the sign of Leo. The heart, the emotion, courage, bravery, the spark of inner fire is part of this fire trine. So Mars is action. It will determine us to, for example, choose something, do something, or quite the contrary, not do, change our course of action, our direction in life, or smaller or bigger, depending on our personal charts. But this fire trine is very, very healing. I do believe that that's the best keyword here. It bestows a lot of healing energy in so very many ways, and of course collectively as well. So the self wound here, people fight for healing, people fight for compassion, people find courage in order to stand for what they believe in collectively. People demand the upholding of the law, of justice, of sacred principles, etc. Sagittarius. So this can have such a beautiful and in a passionate, fiery manifestation type of way attached to it. And I would like to get in one of the more minor aspects here, because the moon is not alone in the sky. I'm just looking at my notes. it is conjunct a dwarf planet called Huya, and it is a rain god. So rain falls from the sky, and rain, especially working with the trine in a positive sense, it's inspiration, it's knowledge, it's divine presence, it's giving life to ideas, giving life to faith, giving healing, like a healing rain, a healing shower across everything it touches. So this part of the energy I find very, very strongly inspirational. Now, another energy that I really, really like is that the ruler of the full moon, at the time of the full moon, holds a trine with an asteroid called Hecate. And Hecate is responsible for foresight, for vision, for, yes, even divination and prophecy. So this is good news playing out. This is the good side. This is where, individually speaking, let me examine. I told you everything was gonna be okay. Why did you even worry? Or I told you you have every reason to have faith because it worked out well in the end. So I really, really like this expression of this energy. And another energy that I find very, very positive here, because ultimately Sagittarius is hope and positivity, and Jupiter, especially in Cancer, along with it. And this is why the square to Saturn is so good. It keeps us in real hope, because false hope is worse than anything. So the reality check part of it. So what I was saying, the full moon is on top of a fixed star named Atria, and that is really benevolent and fortunate. It rules just nature, justice, truthfulness, righteousness, architecture and masonry. So building stuff, figuring stuff out. It is really, really positive. So, and because it's a full moon, it's a completion, a culmination. We already have figured something out. So help is there, hope is there, good news is also there, or of course a lot of not so nice things are going to be happening without a shadow of a doubt, because that's the T-square, right? The mutable grand cross with the nodes. But there is also the other side of the spectrum, Gemini sun, right? There is also hope, there is also faith, there is also power, Mars, belief, courage. Collectively we can, the power of faith. If all of us believe in, for example, peace, hope, whatever, it will have no choice. It's just a question of time until it enters our collective reality. And exactly question of time is Jupiter and Saturn. Personally speaking, individually, for a lot of people, this is where setting inner time correctly, the true expectations. For example, when is my house gonna be built? Like 100% ready for me to move in. Maybe at this square, you get the true time, what from a contractor, from a builder, maybe before, because as I said, this square had two other episodes, but they squared from Gemini Pisces axis. That's what true, what's not true. This estimate, that estimate, but nothing was true. Now you get the real deal. The true expectation is this much, many months or time, and then you can work with something real. Then your hopes and dreams of moving into the house have a strong reality and concrete factor to it. This is just an example. So yeah, we will need a lot of good news to balance the not so nice things that are also going to be in the spotlight. For example, as I said, at the time of a full moon, any full moon, it's not just the full moon itself, it's the whole sky. And the whole sky, look, Venus at home in Taurus, and Taurus, as Nadiya says, the earthly Aphrodite. Strong sense of reality. It's not just philosophical idea of love. It's what how love is embodied. Opposing Black Moon Lilith in Scorpio, the not nice, the ugly, everything that is also part of reality and we cannot ignore. And Scorpio, for very many, sadly, heartbreakingly, for very many people, they cannot ignore because it's part of their immediate reality. The survival, the dangers, also Scorpio and also Aries. So sorry for that. And another energy that I would like to mention is correlated with prophecy. So the full moon trines this energy, but for reasons you will understand, I will need to type the name in here because I cannot pronounce it, and I know that it's not gonna be okay when I pronounce it. So I am typing right now. If you just look at my screen. So um, she's an asteroid. She was daughter of Chiron and Cheroklo. And she was turned into a horse as punishment for telling her father, so Chiron, his fate. So an oracle who broke the taboo. So again, prophecy. But in this sense, good news, because ultimately Chiron's story, he ended up being a constellation. So it's good. It has to be a good, and he was spared the suffering. So ultimately, it's happy end. So again, something hopeful fulfills itself. Or even if it doesn't, because Gemini, it can go the other way as well. The reality gives you true hope, dispelling of false hope and setting roots Cancer into true and realistic hope. And another energy that I would like to mention that I find really, really interesting here, but this time it's the sun that holds this conversation. It's a conjunction with a trans-Neptunian object named, I'm gonna butcher this, but Ajra or something like that, which is an Australian Aboriginal creational deity. And what is specific is that according to this, everything in reality, especially at the time of creation, was just a massive lucid dream, and the creational deity wove the dream. The power of thoughts, the power of optimism, the power of faith, the power of belief, the power of knowing what is just and right, the power of Sagittarius. And collectively speaking, as I said earlier, the glyph of Sagittarius, the arrow that is aimed at the heart of the scorpion, would it want to harm? Use its knowledge, the wisdom to harm. So, yeah, I think all of this is going to be a very, very, very strong expression of these energies, both individually and collectively. And I really, really hope that collectively there is going to be like hopes for example, for peace in many places. And also another energy which I forgot to speak about, at the time of the full moon, we know dwarf planet Ceres. She is in the sign of Aries. So around somewhere 7 degree-ish. And there is another dwarf planet called Ixion around the same degree of the sign of Capricorn, so they hold a square. Ixion is the father of the nomadic, the savage, the bad type of centaurs, because he tried to rape, according to the legend, um, the wife of Zeus, so Jupiter, and he was punished. And it is a symbol of lawlessness, anarchy, disregarding any rule, moral, or any divine or of any kind. So this is if this is almost like one of those malevolent trans-Neptunian objects. Not really, I'm just joking. And it's squaring Ceres. So this means that famine, Ceres nurture, food issues need to, there's an urgent need that and call out to be addressed, to be helped. Something reached its limits, it must get better. There is no option. It cannot get worse because that would be unacceptable. So I do hope that there is good news all over the world in that sense as well. And before I move into the full moon guidance for each sign, the one last thing I would speak about is the collective energy of faith, of what we believe in. So this full moon can be such a good opportunity to use the power of our beliefs to empower peace, to empower the spirit of that which we want to live, which we want to believe in, which we want to breathe in, not necessarily physically, but the non-physical, the, for example, our higher self component of our beings is equally important. And going to Sirius's example, and that needs food too. And the dream and aspiration and desire for harmony, whatever that means for us personally, is a very, very important part of life. Now, with this being said, I would like to say a couple of words about how this full moon can play out for each sign individually. I'm just gonna stop sharing for a moment. Um, and now start sharing again. To make this easier, especially with the timestamps, if they're not going to be available, if you just look at the screen, you will see which sign I'm at and I'm speaking about, if I don't forget to change it as I go through the philosophy. So let's begin with natives born under the sign of Aries. Well, for them, the full moon hits their ninth house. So that's the part of the sky which rules typical Sagittarius, the house of Sagittarius, actually. Long distance travels, law, anything with legal things attached to them, um, studies, school, um, and of course, faith, philosophy, and all of what I've been speaking about earlier. So, as the full moon, it can really shed a light on this. So, for student Aries, this can be a really, really good energy because it aligns them with the grand purpose, graduation. So, communication, plans, developments. Long story short, good news, not necessarily easy, but good news, optimistic news may reach them, or some can even harvest the fruits of their labor. Uh, Especially hardworking students, maybe they are gonna get like praises, promotion, or something positive may happen. Um, and also, we cannot ignore the life philosophy part of this for Aries natives. For them, more than for any sign, this is where ask yourself the question: where do your greatest principles in life lead you, happiness wise? And for happiness, you need to take into consideration, well, Jupiter for you is in the fourth house. So your roots, parents, children, your family, even extended family, your community, your home. So the everything, physical or not, that connects you into your life in a down-to-earth way, that also needs to be permissive of where your higher principles want to take you in life, especially this year and in 2025. Sorry, 2026 and after. It will be very, very important because Saturn and Neptune in your sign for quite a long time now. So Saturn in your sign means building, disciplining, setting new boundaries, or changing existing boundaries, removing some. But you really, really, really need to be a really wise, mature, and good judge. Judge in the sense of what you permit or not in your life for yourself. And the opposite sign, this will affect your partnership, contracts, and everything as well. Now, moving on, let me change there we go, to the sign of Taurus. Well, for you guys, the full moon hits your 8th house, that area of your life, where the ruler, Jupiter, is freshly entered into your 3rd house. So this will be the beginning of a massive brainstorming energy. The beginning, and this brainstorming, the big picture of it is gonna last all of 2025 because you need to figure big things in your life out, how to do it, when to do it, the concrete details, and especially who to do it with. Also, relationships with siblings, neighbors, cousins, or anyone who you regard as such are going to be very much in the spotlight in the next year. And this full moon may tie into it. It will give you the first glimpses of that. But mostly is also about what you share with other people. Money, finances, your time, resources. How does that work in your life? How does that make you feel right now? And something may happen. Maybe I can't really polarize it. It can be either a good news or a news which is tough, but it leads to something positive because it's real. It leads to something ultimately concrete, real that you can rely upon. So, for example, changes in contracts, especially values, job contract, renegotiation, or bad news, you're fired, but how fortunate because you waited for this moment. You just didn't have courage to do it, to resign, because your new hobby, your project that you always wanted to do, or a new course, Sagittarius, that you wanted to complete is really knocking at the door. So perfect for you. Not so easy, but this can also be what we share intimately, sexual energy. A sexual connection that, well, Sagittarius either with a foreigner or that something that really opens your mind, your senses, or healing with Chiron. Exactly. For Taurus natives, it can be a very, very strong expression of sexual, sensual, earthly, bodily healing due to pleasure or the 5 senses. So really good energy for any kind of self-care and also dating in that sense if you're interested. And also, this shines a light on what impact past living conditions, places where you lived, people, community, living situations have done for you and the impact they left, either in a good sense, what they taught you, or what customs or things you picked up from there. Also negative. For 8th house is the house of traumas, let's not forget. So, but it's a revelatory energy. It comes with feeling, but the feeling which is ultimately helpful. It aligns you with some kind of reality in the 8th house sense. So this can also be like a medical energy for some people. This is my actual health condition. Let me not delude myself about it. And that might require for you, Gemini axis, right? Gemini Sag axis, to make changes, decisions. I'll cut things out from my life, or I care much about my health, so changes are necessary, etc. So the big picture, this is how I see it play out in Taurus natives' lives. So thank you so much, Taurus natives. Moving on. For natives born under the sign of Gemini, well, it's quite a powerful full moon because it's taking place in your opposite sign. So that means the sun illuminates it from your sign personally. So things can feel very, very personal, especially in what is projected upon you by others, especially partners in any sense at this moment, because this is 7th house lunation. So partners, especially marriage, life partner, but any partner in any sense, but also what the impact, emotion, imprint, maybe truth you leave upon them. So I would imagine this comes with a lot of communication that stirs feeling. And some of this feeling, because Jupiter, the ruler, is in your, and along with your ruler, Mercury, is in your 2nd house. So self-worth, communication, or reflection, or all of this may not even be in your life, but in your partner's life. So of course you're part of it or sucked into it. Something massive, let's say, happens in the career life of your partner. Well, you're not present there because it's his, but now, of course, you will get involved deeply and it will impact you too. Just an example here. But there are going to be discussions, communications, and decisions, and truth worded, if that makes sense. And feelings are definitely going to be evoked. But this can also represent a decision, a discussion. Do we buy something? Do we invest in something? What do we do with money? What can we expect with money? Do we need to make changes in our lives due to money? And when I say it's not just within a marriage, 7th house is also contracts, a money situation, finance, and collectively, you can imagine that the collective financial situation, like it or not, believe it or not, want it or not, it's still affecting our lives. So that's one example of where it can just come from, even if it has nothing to do with our own specific actions. Something changes in the market or economy, and there it is. Our lives change as well. Anyway, contracts, rearranging this in any, by all means, I would so hope that it, for most people, it plays out in the constructive, creational, positive way that the full moon reveals that a plan, a new beginning, a new project, a new something is possible. Look, there's the resources. This is what you have to do for them. And it adds value to your life in the future. And you cooperate, you collaborate with your partner. Actually, for many natives, creating or planning a business or something with their partners can be very, very good under this full moon. But again, surprise or a truth may also come from a partner, which can be a game changer. So let's move on to natives born under the sign of Cancer. Well, for you guys, it is hitting your 6th house, and the ruler is in your 1st house. So this lunation is just the opener of the next 1 and roughly half years of your lives, when the spotlight, the karmic even spotlight, is on you guys, on you personally. Your own spotlight is on you. So this is where what is inside the Cancerian shell. And this opens for you guys a period of who you aspire to be, to become. What and actually, who do you believe yourself to be? What do you believe about your growth, about your evolution, about what you have in your life? How fair is your life? How fair are partners treating you in your life? What do other people and things in your life reflect about you and your beliefs? So this is a very powerful period when we change things around, deeply philosophically and spiritually and with energy within ourselves, but at the same time, inner changes radiate outward, and they just cause chain reactions in our lives in so very many ways. So this is roughly what they can expect, what Cancer natives can expect to take place in the next 1.5 years in their lives due to this Jupiter transiting in their sign. It's a really, really positive energy. It expands, it makes them grow. But many times it doesn't come always with ease because it also expands things they need to let go of. Because the Cancer, well, the crab, the pincers, one of the pincer is grabbing onto Jupiter. Jupiter, the luck, the blessing. Cancer loves welcoming Jupiter in his domain. So they're very, very comfortable with each other. Jupiter also loves being here. So one pincer is grabbing the luck, the blessing, the good fortune, the hope, the optimism, the dream, Jupiter. The other pincer, everything that they need to let go of, the cleanup inside the shell. So old habits, old routines, old customs that really bring them down in the sense that they may have been once relevant part of life and useful even, but the person who you are now, and especially who you want to become in the next year, who you want to grow into, who others want you, sorry, who other people you would want to know you as. That person, in order to have place to grow in energy and in psyche and in faith and for you to generate, to create that part, an inner cleanup needs to take place. So for a lot of Cancer natives, this is also physical body and health. Putting health routines into a certain arrangement that really, really works for you guys and advantages you long term. Putting things right. So no longer following routines, for example, eating the wrong type of food or eating the type of food which you know that has a not so positive impact on you, because Jupiter is that knowledge. You know it. It's not a question of belief now. You know factually that certain things make you feel not so well. Okay, they may bring pleasure and the easiness and comfort, but now you make the decision to cut them out from your life. You not just dream about the changes, you enact them, you execute them. When Jupiter was in Gemini, so that's the 12th house part of your sky, it was really dreaming about the changes. Now, when it's actually inside of your sign, it's doing and being and embodying the changes that you want to see in your life. Let me just quickly look at my notes if I forgot to mention something. And also seeking a lot of inspiration, because growing into someone doesn't just happen like that. Growing into someone needs muses, needs examples, needs connections. So it is almost like getting inspired by life and finding your, like the best term here is your mojo. Of course, this happens once every 12 years, but for Cancer natives, this is your moment. So whatever this full moon reflects and reveals is gonna be really, really important because these are the first steps towards you guys making the best use of Jupiter in Jupiter's transit in your sign. So let's move on to natives born under the sign of Leo. Well, for you guys, it's actually the fifth house area. So this can really spark up, illuminate the passion center, the romantic center, the creational center, deeply what's in the heart and the raw feelings there. But of course, we don't know exactly in which sense because there is more than one nuance to this full moon, as you know from the general part of the horoscope. There's also a grand cross, a mutable grand cross, so it needs adaptation. It's not what seems it is not what once seemed, not what once met the eye. So this is a bit like a reality check moment as well. But of course, that can be something wonderful, like a good news, a risk you once took and paid off, or this can be some kind of reward, your courage, your creativity, your gestures, something that you've done rewarding you, paying off, romance, love, attraction, especially other people being attracted to you. Now, even if this may be awkward because it may not be reciprocal or mutual. However, what life mirrored at you, well, that's positive because life just mirrored to you, at you that you're attractive and you still got it. So it will always have positive side to it, even though, as I said, it's not guaranteed that for every Leo native it comes with some kind of wrapping or it smiles and cheers and the good stuff. Especially because the ruler of the full moon, Jupiter, is in your 12th house. So this comes with mystery. This comes with not everything is not what it seems. This comes with like a secret being revealed, or something comes out of the hidden, something comes unexpectedly your way because you didn't see it coming. Like, as I said earlier, one of the best examples, um, someone is very attracted to you, but you had absolutely no idea and they just dish it out. How do you react to it, for example? Or secrets coming out. But this can also represent karmic connections, something from the past, something shedding light on the past, giving you, Jupiter in the 12th house, the power to, I don't know, heal the past, reach forgiveness, to let go, to release. This can be a very, very, very strong healing energy as well. And for many Leo natives, especially who have children, good news or something, delight, surprise, or problems, why not, can come from children. And, even if it's problems, solving it is bonding with the child, so it's still positive. And children, it can be very, very humorous. But, for other Leo natives, well, maybe becoming a parent and the decision to do so. Um, It's also a really, really good energy for Leo natives to tap into their creativity because this can reveal in a more practical way than usual where true creativity lies and what to do to make that part of life, not just keep it on the shelf, not just know that they have a talent, to integrate it more directly into their lives. So moving on to natives born under the sign of Virgo, for you guys, it is hitting your fourth house, and the ruler, Jupiter, in the 11th house. Without a shadow of a doubt, for you guys, it's a very future-oriented energy. You need certain awareness. You need a certain type of awareness of what is going on in your life. Like a true eagle's perch view, as objective as possible of what you have in your life, what you have to work with, and what is really unreliable in any way, shape, and form. Because that's basically fourth house. How are my roots? How do I stand? And this is house, community, family dynamics, real estate. What makes you happy in life ultimately? It even comes down to things like that. Do your roots, your permanent setup in life, doesn't include enough things to make you happy, to make you go, to represent who you are? Do you feel at home somewhere? Do you feel protected? Do you feel nurtured? So you can see how very many things can tie into this. Family members, people, parents, children, community, your home where you live, where your home is located. And I know I forgot something from the general overview of the full moon, where this can mean big flooding at certain places in the world. And I'm pretty sure that there are Virgo natives listening where their home either is in danger or was flooded recently or is in danger of being flooded now, because the water element is very, very strongly activated due to Jupiter entering the sign of Cancer. So there is a lot of flooding. So, for example, flood is coming, it changes the plan. You need to do something. A reality check that this is the situation and this is what I have to work with. But for Virgo natives who have long-term future plans, they want to buy a house, sell a house, relocate, go to a different community, embrace something new, start a family, become parents, have another addition to their family, even pets. Anything of that nature, well, this full moon sheds light on where things stand, how things are. The moon loves it for Virgo natives in this fourth house. So it's very, very helpful, even if it will have uncomfortable parts of it where, I don't like the setup of this, I don't like the way this and that looks, I don't like, for example, house, home, it needs plumbing, it needs Jupiter, legal something to be completed, or family. You need to improve the relationship with this and that family member, or a family member is in need. How do you help, etc., etc. Um, but long story short, whatever the full moon reflects, it gives you a good sense of direction of where your longer term aspirations can take you and where they can't, where it will not work. And that is ultimately a massive help, because being aligned to dreams, goals, aspirations, whatever, that do work and are realistic, that's always like riding when a sail is propelled by the wind, like riding a jet of air, gliding almost, like it does the work for you. So this is why this full moon is important, because it will show you the dynamics and the reality of how things stand exactly at the roots of your life. Now, moving on to natives born under the sign of Libra. Well, for you guys, this is quite a brainstorming energy because it's hitting your third house. And the ruler is the Jupiter, the ruler of the full moon, is in your 10th house. So, before the full moon, I would just like to say a few words about Jupiter. Well, this is like a soul calling, like a career calling. This year and next year, you're invited by inner forces and karmic forces to really, really dream big and invest your focus and energy into whatever it is that you need to do, adjust, refine in your soul paths for many career. Of course, the typical, the classical, the cliche almost career attribute of the 10th house. But this can also take any other way, shape, and form. The impact you leave on others, the world, the cosmos, the your power basically, the top of your sky, your notoriety, what makes you you, what makes you special in other people's eyes, so to speak. So that's the main theme. That's the overtone of the energy that just started and it's gonna go into 2026 big time. So this full moon is setting up the stage for that. So third house, a lot of communication, news. Maybe things come to you totally randomly, synchronistically. You just stumble across an article, an advert, or a friend, a neighbor, a sibling, someone tells you a story, tells you their situation, and you immediately make connections with your own. Important communication or news or invitations or visit, travels, uh, enter your life. Another way this can play out is where you get busy, you need to travel a lot, especially shorter distance travels, like, like completing chores objectives, going from A to B to C. And as you are traveling, as you are going, you meet someone, something connects, you see something, something happens. Fated energy can play out while traveling around this full moon. And also, as I said, brainstorming energy. You need to figure certain things out. Like if you want to upgrade your career, maybe a career choice, a big decision. And this is when you start thinking about it. How do I go about this? Is it worth it? Is it not? Speculations, playing with options, uh, finding connections, finding ideas, seeing what's available, using the power of social media. When there are no, how should I say, inner resources in your life, your being, you just don't know. You don't have the thoughts, the knowledge, the inspiration. You have friends, you have family, you have other people, you have bro sis. So those people can come as a saving grace. They can come with a big idea, with a big help, with or a truth energy. Someone close or a friend or anything like that comes with a big news. They saw this and that, or they heard this and that, or it can play out in more than one way. A good friend who you work with wants to give you their position, or this energy can play out in very many different ways that can be a game changer in the longer term. As I said, next 1.5 years, exactly soul calling wise. May it be something big, like a career change, or just something that's a question of improvement, adaptation, rearrangement in any way, shape, and form. This full moon can bring good ideas and a good reality check. Moving on to natives born under the sign of Scorpio. Well, for you guys, it's quite down to earth matters of finances, money, and everything that represents value in your life, even psychologically, and even why not physical body. So the light of the full moon does reveal something, does reflect something, does make you feel a certain way. This can play out in very many ways, shape, and form, where maybe a lack of something, a void. I don't have enough of something in my life, in my, I don't know, my pocket, my bank account, etc., etc. You realize something. I deserve more. I need more. But this can also be where it might reveal where you have hidden treasure, gems, not unused, sitting on a shelf in your life, a skill, a talent, something material, money, a possible investment, an object of great value, anything. Even why not crypto and the modern stuff? So hidden value and what to do with it, because any full moon, as I said, is an opposition of sun moon. So the sun is in the eighth house. So it is exactly where other people or things that happen, things that you are one way or another involved with, are shedding the light on the value, a need, an urgency, or, as I said earlier, an unfulfilled desire. I'm not happy with my value system, or I'm not happy with how, you know, wealthy or not, my life reflects of me and makes me feel. It doesn't really matter if it's a heavy feeling or if it's something, wow, look at the opportunity, look, the bullseye, the pot of gold. It doesn't matter because it's constructive. And it helps you change things around. We must not forget that Jupiter, the ruler of this, is in the ninth house. So that's where, for Scorpio natives, it's a reflection of you changed. This is a new world, new times, new paradigm. Ever since 2020, the life and everything in it of Scorpio natives changed quite a lot. Maybe the awareness of that has not kicked in fully. So that's why Jupiter transiting this ninth house segment of your chart, of your life, is gonna update you of new paradigm, new beliefs are needed, new dream, new aspiration, new way of knowing things, learning things, integrating things, new travels, new, well, ultimately, philosophies, why not? Because philosophy is simply us trying to make sense of the cosmos and everything in it. And as I said, some of it is passed down, but the universe invites us to think freely, to feel freely, to philosophize freely. And this is going to be big part of this energy, an innovation energy for Scorpio natives. So, yep. Moving on, natives born under the sign of Sagittarius, well, you guys are the stars of this lunation because you are the hosts. So it's something deeply concerning the self. This can also be image, your image, self-image, how other people see you, you in certain roles and qualities. But what matters here is not what others see, how you feel about the self, about you. This can very well be a physical energy, your physical body, your aesthetics. Um, and for you guys, Jupiter, the ruler of this full moon, is in your eighth house. So very much physical body and aesthetics included here. So for very many Sag natives, this can come with a decision, for example, yep, I'm gonna go and do this procedure, that procedure. I don't feel good about myself because I have this vulnerability, or I don't know, this mark, or this skin tag or stuff like this, or I'm bored of my hairdo, my wardrobe, or I need to make sure that how I feel about myself is actually reflected on the outside. So this type of energy, deeply transformative, but this can come as a reality check. Eighth house sense, for example, this is what I want to evolve into, grow into. This is where I want to take my self-image into this direction. But then first house full moon, the reality check, yes, but in order for me to even be able to go in that direction, this and this and this and this needs to be taken care of. Or I'm not aligned with who I feel I am, or with who I don't project sufficiently who I want to be, who I again feel I am, because ultimately first house. But this energy can also illuminate strong need, strong, well, ultimately the relation of the self and the boundaries in life. How much or what do I permit other people? Because that also says a lot about me, even if I don't necessarily feel it that way, even if I don't necessarily make the correlation consciously. This full moon will awaken that what we permit to other people to do to us, say to us, how they treat us, how they handle us, how they communicate with us, what they believe us to, whatever, that says a lot of things about us and our, well, self-image and self-worth as well. And this full moon is really going to shine a light on this. What do your gestures in life, your allowances in life, say about you? And if those depict a picture which you don't agree with, things will need to be changed around. So that's why this is a very strong transformative energy. And also, this is about sharing based on what you feel. How does this change what you will share? For example, if a Sag native under this full moon will come to realize that their job, their work environment, their colleagues, whatever, don't treat them the way they really deserve and according to their dignity, and it's not making them evolve, quite the opposite, well, then the decision to quit the job, to change things around profoundly may arise, and maybe this was never ever summarized as such. Maybe they felt it here and there, but never saw the big picture of it. That when they put all the inconvenient elements together, the big picture is already intolerable, below the dignity, or the opposite, to stay with a job because there's the opportunity, there is something good, it is very promising, and it reveals the path or the steps needed in to be taken in this direction. So moving on, for natives born under the sign of Capricorn, perhaps for you guys it is the more typical or mysterious, magical expression of the full moon because it is taking place in your 12th house. So, as I said, dreams, surreal states, mystery is there. Life feels fated. There's like synchronicities playing out. People, feelings, patterns, energies, emotions may arise powerfully and impactfully from the past, traumas, heavy, actually not just heavy, but very, very relevant life moments, the memory of them may come back, and life simply feels fated. This energy can also reveal something important, reveal something that was under the light of, sorry, under the veil of secrecy or the veil of unknowingness, if this is even a word, because 12th house is the house of the unknown, the unseen, secret. So this can have a lot of revelation, and this revelation can change the feeling of the past around profoundly. Like, for example, there was an experience you lived in a not so nice way that left a very bitter taste. You encounter this person, or somehow it comes back into your life, and you get a different understanding of it. That, for example, maybe you took it all wrong. It was not meant to hurt you, or it was a misinterpretation, or someone who you thought hurt you never even was aware, or etc., etc. And this changes everything. It heals, it releases, it gives a different meaning to the memory and the energy associated with it. So this can be very, very important and powerful. This can also be like revelatory energy, prophetic dreams, visions, communication with spirits, the spirit world, the feeling, the unconscious, intuition, the inner being is very, very active. Divination and communicating with inner parts of your being is really, really good at this time. But ultimately, this is where fate or karma may play out in a revelatory sense, where it will lead you to being able to make decisions, choices, rearranging inner dynamics, psycho-emotionally speaking. This is where, if you need to reprioritize certain energies that you give your how should I say, attention to each and every day in your life, but these are inner things. If that inner needs a rearrangement where the priorities need to shift, then this full moon is really, really good for this inner alchemy work. Like, let me give you an example. Maybe someone got a really, really bad grade as a student, and it demotivated them, and it made them feel like a certain kind of victim. And that was a strong inner feeling, an inner energy. It changed an inner dynamic where the victim is getting the attention, getting the focus, getting the juice of the being. This full moon comes, person understands that no, they need to shift the dynamic around. The victim is not going anywhere because it's a powerful life lesson ultimately. So it needs to exist in the inner, but the attention is put on, for example, the really ambitious worker part of the student, where there the disappointment, okay, but that doesn't stop them forever from being their usual, normal, disciplined, and determined, hardworking selves. So, in an energy focus. So, this is really going to be important for Capricorn natives, especially because whatever happens at this moment changes dynamics in their partnerships, in their contracts, in their seventh house. But that is over the course of the next 1.5 years. Now, moving on, for natives born under the sign of Aquarius, this is 11th house domain. So, really, really futuristic. And also, really, really philosophical. Really dreaming, seeing the big picture, and people, being connected to people. Because, the future ideologies, aspirations are not very much without other people who we can share it with. Because the typical example of the human being is a strongly social being. So, exactly, Aquarius natives are prime embodiments of this element. So, big news, revelation, something happening that makes you feel a certain way can come from friends, from acquaintances, from people who you're connected to. Not necessarily people who you know directly, personally, you being a part of a group, you being, for example, politics, being part of a party, a political party, supporting a political party, believing in a political party's ideologies. That's so very much 11th house stuff. But it can also be your own dreams, hopes, aspirations, how lovable you feel, because what does the world, the community, or external reality, Aquarius, 11th house, the internet, say about that? Because, let me give you the most simplest example. I can be dreaming about becoming a multi-millionaire and having that lifetime 24/7, Aquarius hopes and dreams. But if I live in a place where the collective economy is very, 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 very low, then chances are, I'm not being very realistic, am I? So this is exactly the effect of this 11th house full moon. How realistic are you about your aspirations, expectations, hopes, dreams, but also your friends, circle of friends, and anything you're part of, ideologically speaking? If what you're part of doesn't no longer reflect what you believe, then time to make an exit. Or if your friends are, ideologically speaking, are people who really don't believe what you believe at all, and they don't fight, strive for the same goals and principles at all that are very important for you. You know what I'm trying to say here. Time to cord cut and find new friends, new connections, new people. So having in common, having something ideological or in common with people who we share with, especially friends, well, it's very, 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 very important. And this full moon will reflect where it's not the case. Which people in Aquarius natives' lives are nothing like them and don't work in their favor. So it doesn't matter in which way it comes. Whatever this full moon reveals will ultimately help Aquarius natives change around their lifestyle and who's part of it in the long term. All of 2025 and going significant into 2026. So, moving on. Last but of course not least, natives born under the sign of Pisces. Well, for you guys, this lunation hits your 10th house, so very, very soul oriented in the sense that how does the position in your position in the world makes you feel? What does that reflect about you? What does it say about your life story, about your past and present, and ultimately the direction of your future? For many Pisces natives, this might, well, take the shape and form of elements in their career, a reflection within their career. This can be something very positive and delightful, why not? A big recognition, promotion, success, harvesting the fruits of your labor, something you sacrificed for, your mastery, anything like that. Or a reality check where, in order for you to get here and there, climb up the ladder, for example, you need to complete this and that, or be, or change your ways around, perhaps. Or sometimes that staying in a career would be futile because your soul no longer is part of it. This is also very, very okay. It might feel a bit heavy. It might feel not so nice, of course, but ultimately it's a very positive energy because it will guide you to the real deal, to what you want to do, to, well, ultimately the ruler of this full moon is in your fifth house, the next and true passion, what sparks your interest, your creativity, what gives you joy, what makes you feel alive. So it's very, very important, even if necessarily at the moment when it happens, it's not a good news, or it cannot be embraced with all that much passion, but it's still positive. Even realizing, admitting, coming to terms that, for example, you're burned out and it's not gonna get better ever, you need to leave the career and embrace this might be the best thing that could have ever happened to you. So going with the flow, but this is quite within Pisces natives' expertise, and they're really, really good at it. I know because my ascendant is Pisces, but other things can be influential in this sense. There's career. There is a soul path that they're on, and it's in a certain way. It's in a balance. It's working. Something may happen in their personal lives, which might need a strong change. For example, well, 10th house, fatherhood. Some Pisces natives might decide that the time is here for them to become parents, dads, moms, family. That will change career, that will change life setup, that will change a lot. So big things in life that give you a good glimpse and a reality check of career or soul path, where things stand, and how does this work for you, and how does this make you feel. So I think I covered everything that I possibly could. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here, for staying with me, for listening. Thank you so much, Nadiya, for the opportunity and for always honoring me. I'm wishing everyone a blessed and really, really magical and inspirational full moon. Until next time, bye, everyone.